Alright, so today we're going to be looking at 3 ways to send requests to your PHP server. So you might already know how to do this, but in case you do, it's just a reminder, right? So the 3 ways we're going to be looking at is jQuery, using a form. So you see we have a form here, and then we could use Postman. So yeah, so you have jQuery, then we have a form, and then we have Postman. So let's get into it. Working with forms. So working with form is pretty straightforward. If you look at our example here, we have a user login form. You can just put an input with the name. You have to make sure and put the name, right? So the name is most important. So we have one for email and one for password. So the input is type text. This one is type password, name, and then password. So that's our form there. And at the top, we have our method, which is equal to post, and you can put get if you want to, and the action, which is the URL of the server you're posting to, right? In this case, we use server PHP self, but you could just put in the PHP files. If it's login.php, you can do that as well. All right, so that's method 1. So what the backend would look like, so this is it. This is actually for a project I've been doing that I'll show the video on. So we have the user authentication functions. We just use include there, and then you have is user logged in. If it's not logged in, if the user is logged in, you just go to the profile, right? All right, so this is the if server request method. This is where you actually check in for the post request, and then you get in the email here. Remember, we put the name in the inputs, so this is what you're checking for from the super global post. And if it was a get, if any method you put get, it would be the super global get you'd be using to get these values. And then you try to log in, and we have our try, catch, and echo, and this is a relocation. So go into the profile page once you're logged in. All right, so that's that. Next method is jQuery, right? So jQuery has a post and a get function, so you could substitute this post value with get if you wanted to, and it would do a get request. You have to put the URL. So we have three versions here, right? So we have simple. The simple one is just on the URL, and usually I put action equal to save, because doing that, adding that parameter allows you to add like multiple requests, handle multiple requests with one file. All right, so the second one, you get any response from the server. So the callback function, you could pass in. You could put anything here. You could put res. You could put HTML. Anything you put there. But that is this value will contain the response from the server, and you could output it to the console. And then we have where we actually send in values. So all it needs is an object, and this is kind of like the name in the input when you're using a form. So you'd have the name as being username, and then you'd put whatever the value is. So in the post super global, you'll be checking for username. All right, and of course you could always get the response from the server. In this case, we're just checking to see if it's equal to good. All right, so that's using jQuery. And finally, ajax, which is just a kind of a different one. So I think post and get simplifies it, but you can have more options with using the ajax function. Basically, you could just take in an object, so you could see the open curly brackets and close curly brackets. So you could just put in all your options here. So the option is like URL data, which is you could put an object, so you could say username equal to wfTutorials. Here again, you check it for error here. For error occurred, the data type could actually give you an issue, so pay close attention to data type. And then success, if you are successful, and then the type could be get or it could be post, right? And on the server side of things, this is again pretty simple. I'm actually checking for the parameter that's usually passed, so you usually check for action, and if it's the correct name, then you could get the values. Whether it's a post or a get request, you would know, and you'd get the correct values and continue there. So Postman is this really cool API app, and you could always Google it and check it out. So using Postman is pretty simple. You just put in the URL here. You need to put in the full URL, so it can't just be server.php. It would be wherever your file is being hosted. Even if it's from a local host, you need to put in the local host and then the correct file path. All right, and it's the full URL, and then you can add in any parameters that you want. And here we have action and save user, and then we just press send. I don't think I've seen the send button, but there's a send button somewhere, and then below here you can see the response. Those drop down, you could change between get or post as you need to. All right, and for the bonus round, we're gonna just use JavaScript, which I think is the base for jQuery. jQuery uses XML HTTP requests, but it doesn't allow you to deal directly with it. All right, so to do that, if you've never used it before, let's just run it through. Right, so we have the form data. This is how we're actually going to send information using XML HTTP requests. We append, we have our username here, and right, and the value. Right, we create a new object. We create a new object here, and this is actually where we get back the information. So we get back the information here. So if it's ready and if we get a correct response of the status and you're ready, we could actually output this to the console. So this is where we're receiving the response from the server, but this section here is where we send in the response. So we have the type, which is post, and we're using this URL, which is server.action equals to save user, and then we just send, and we have to make sure I'm passing form data, which if you remember, we use form data here. All right, so that's it. That is it. All right.